Ricardo Pineda is 12th. Best lap is a 1:36.711. Juan Pablo Aristizabal is 5th. Juan Carlos Guerin from Colombia is P6. Best lap is 1:32.302. Carlos Huertas in Pirelli is P7 on softs. Juan Carlos Guerin in Red Bull Mobile is 6th. Castrol Edge is 14th on mediums. The qualification session is at Red Bull Ring Grand Prix Circuit in Spielberg, Austria. The wind speed is 10 km/h from the east-southeast. Christian Gomez from Colombia is 3rd on softs. J.Enriquez from Colombia is first on softs. Santiago Idarraga from Spain in rock is 6th on mediums. Juan Carlos Cuarin from Colombia in rock is P10 on mediums. J.Enriquez is P12. J.Enriquez is up 10.22 in rock. J.Enriquez is up 11.66 in worth. J.Enriquez is up 12.89 in Red Bull Mobile. Ricardo Pineda from Colombia is 5th up 20.48 on mediums. J.Enriquez in Remus is P3 up 0.64 on softs. J.Enriquez is up 0.87 in Pirelli. J.Enriquez is up 1.46 in Rent. J.Enriquez improved his first with a 1:31.356. 15 minutes remaining in the session. Christian Gomez is provisional pole with a 1:30.958. Jean-Pierre Ferrand is provisional pole with a 1:30.912. Ricardo Pineda is P10. Yanli from China is P10 on mediums. Yanli improved his P6 with a 1:32.372. 1.460 off pole. Juan Carlos Cuarin in Rent is 9th up 1.66. Juan Carlos Guerin improved his P5 with a 131.723. 0.811 off pole. Jose Miguel Moncada from Colombia is P10 on softs. Jose Miguel Moncada improved his P10 with a 133.558. 2.646 off pole. Christian Gomez is second up 0.61. Daniel Quintero is 12th on mediums. Christian Gomez in Red Bull Mobile is second up 0.68. Christian Gomez is provisional pole with 130.105. Ricardo Pineda in Red Bull Mobile is P8 up 0.98. Ricardo Pineda improved his 7th with a 132.354. 2.249 off pole. Jose Miguel Moncada in Pirelli is 10th up 0.53. Best lap is a 133.558. 3.453 off pole. Jose Miguel Moncada is up 0.86 in Red Bull Mobile. Jose Miguel Moncada improved his 9th with a 132.528. 2.423 off pole. Daniel Quintero in Red Bull Mobile is P12 up 1.37. Daniel Quintero improved his 12th with a 133.985. 3.880 off pole. Christian Gomez is provisional pole with a 130.044. Jean-Pierre Ferrand is second. Jean-Pierre Ferrand improved his P2 with a 130.437. 0.393 off pole. Santiago Ibarraga is sixth. Santiago Ibarraga improved his P4 with a 131.301. 1.257 off pole. Alejandro Arango from Colombia is P13 up 3.11 on mediums. Jean-Pierre Ferrand from Colombia in Orth is P2 up 0.13 on softs. Alejandro Arango in Remus is 11th up 0.86. Santiago Ibarraga in Orth is 4th up 0.26. Santiago Ibarraga improved his 3rd with a 131.109. 1.065 off pole. 10 minutes remaining in the session. Alejandro Arango is P11. Alejandro Arango is up 0.36 in Red Bull Mobile. Alejandro Arango improved his 11th with a 133.273. 3.229 off pole. Daniel Quintero in Worth is 13th up 0.38. Best lap is a 133.985. 3.941 off pole. Santiago Idarraga in Pirelli is P3 up 0.18. Best lap is a 1:31.109. 1.065 off pole. Santiago Idarraga is up 0.29 in Red Bull Mobile. Alex Borsov from Colombia is P14 on mediums. Carlos Huertas from Colombia is P12 on softs. Best lap is a 1:33.273. 3.229 off pole. Alex Borsov from Colombia is 14th up 0.48. Alex Borsov is up 13.68 in rock. Alex Borsov is up 13.34 in worth. Alex Borsov is up 13.46 in Red Bull Mobile. Juan Carlos Guerin in Pirelli is 6th up 0.51. Juan Carlos Guerin is up 0.51 in rent. Yanli in rent is P8 up 0.25. Remaining in the session. Santiago Idarraga is 3rd up 0.16. Santiago Idarraga is up 0.20 in worth. Santiago Idarraga is up 0.39 in Red Bull Mobile. Santiago Idarraga improved his P3 with a 130.715. 0.671 off pole. Yanli is 8th up 3.00. Andres Camilo Cardona from Colombia is P14 up 0.80 on mediums. Andres Camilo Cardona is up 1.43 in worth. Andres Camilo Cardona is up 1.60 in Red Bull Mobile. Andres Camilo Cardona improved his P13 with a 133.791. 3.747 off pole. Daniel Quintero is P14. Daniel Quintero improved his 11 with a 132.781. 2.737 off pole. Andres Camilo Cardona in Remus is P14 up 0.27. Announcer bot is active. The qualification session is at Red Bull Ring Grand Prix Circuit in Spielberg, Austria. The wind speed is 6 km/h from the east. Alejandro Arango is 7th. Alejandro Arango is up 0.38 in Pirelli. Daniel Quintero in Castrol Edge is 2nd on mediums. Andres Camilo Cardona from Colombia in Remus is 8th up 0.50 on mediums. Carlos Huertas from Colombia in Remus is P7 up 0.16 on softs. Alejandro Arango from Colombia is 5th on mediums. The qualifying session is now in overtime. Carlos Huertas is 7th. Daniel Quintero in Rent is 4th. Alejandro Arango is third up 0.11. Alejandro Arango is up 0.19 in Red Bull Mobile. Alejandro Arango improved his P2 with a 132.480, 1.681 off pole. Juan Barbosa from Colombia is 8th on mediums. The race session is at Red Bull Ring Grand Prix Circuit in Spielberg, Austria. The wind speed is 5 km/h from the east. Director entering the pits is P20. Christian Gomez is first. Race start. Christian Gomez is first. J.Enriquez from Colombia in Castrol edges P3 on softs. Santiago Idarroga from Spain is P3 on mediums. Alex Borsov entering the pits is 16th. Jose Miguel Moncada from Colombia in Remus is 15th on softs. Christian Gomez from Colombia in Rock is 4th on softs. Christian Gomez is now P3. Juan Carlos Guerin from Colombia in Pirelli is P4 on mediums. Alex Borsov exiting pits on mediums. Juan Carlos Guerin lost P7 to Juan Barbosa. Juan Carlos Guerin is now 10th. Juan Pablo Aristizabal is 14th. Aristizabal is now P13. Yan Li from China is P13 on mediums. Yan Li lost 13th to Andres Camilo Cardona. Ricardo Pineda from Colombia is 9th on mediums, 0.4 behind Daniel Quintero. Yan Li entering the pits is P14. Juan Carlos Guerin is 12th on mediums, 0.3 behind Juan Pablo Aristizabal. Daniel Quintero is 10th on mediums, 1.1 behind Jose Miguel Moncada. Juan Pablo Aristizabal from Colombia in Rock is P11 on mediums, 0.1 behind Daniel Quintero. Juan Pablo Aristizabal passed Daniel Quintero for 10th. Juan Carlos Guerin in Pirelli is 11th, 0.3 ahead of Daniel Quintero. Daniel Quintero is 12th on mediums, 0.4 behind Juan Carlos Guerin. Daniel Quintero lost 12th to Andres Camilo Cardona. Jose Miguel Moncada from Colombia is 9th, 0.4 behind Ricardo Pineda. Alejandro Arango exiting pits on mediums. Andres Camilo Cardona from Colombia in Castrol edge on lap 3 is P12 on mediums, 0.5 behind Juan Carlos Guerin. Juan Carlos Guerin in Remus on lap 3 is 12th battling Andres Camilo Cardona. Santiago Idarroga from Spain is 5th, 0.3 behind Juan Barbosa. Yan Li exiting pits on mediums. Andres Camilo Cardona is 12, 0.2 behind Juan Carlos Guerin. Santiago Ibarra from Spain is 5th, 0.4 behind Juan Barbosa. Alejandro Arango entering the pits is 15th. Jose Miguel Moncada on lap 3 is 9th, 0.5 ahead of Juan Pablo Aristizabal. Juan Pablo Aristizabal was 2.1 faster last lap. Alejandro Arango exiting pits on mediums. Juan Barbosa is 5th. Jose Miguel Moncada is 9th, 0.3 ahead of Juan Pablo Aristizabal. Juan Pablo Aristizabal from Colombia in Rock is P10, 0.5 behind Jose Miguel Moncada. Jose Miguel Moncada is 9th, 0.1 ahead of Juan Pablo Aristizabal. Juan Pablo Aristizabal is P10, 0.1 behind Jose Miguel Moncada. Juan Pablo Aristizabal passed Jose Miguel Moncada for P9. Jose Miguel Moncada is P10, 0.2 behind Juan Pablo Aristizabal. Daniel Quintero is 13th, 0.5 behind Juan Carlos Guerin. Daniel Quintero passed Juan Carlos Guerin for P12. Juan Carlos Guerin entering the pits is first. Daniel Quintero is now P13. Andres Camilo Cardona is P12. Juan Pablo Aristizabal from Colombia is P10, 0.5 behind Ricardo Pineda. Jose Miguel Moncada from Colombia is P12, 0.2 behind Andres Camilo Cardona. Juan Pablo Aristizabal is 10th, 0.3 behind Ricardo Pineda. Juan Pablo Aristizabal is now 9th. Carlos Huertas from Colombia on lap 6 is P7 on softs, 0.4 behind Diego Ortiz. Ricardo Pineda in Remus is 9th, 0.3 behind Juan Pablo Aristizabal. Juan Pablo Aristizabal in Rock is 9th on mediums, 0.4 behind Ricardo Pineda. Juan Pablo Aristizabal passed Ricardo Pineda for P8. Carlos Huertas is P7 on softs, 0.5 behind Diego Ortiz. Andres Camilo Cardona in Rent is P10, 1.0 ahead of Jose Miguel Moncada. Andres Camilo Cardona lost P10 to Jose Miguel Moncada. Carlos Huertas in Remus is P7, 1.0 behind Diego Ortiz. Jose Miguel Moncada is 11, 0.1 behind Andres Camilo Cardona. Carlos Huertas in Pirelli is P7 on softs, 0.5 behind Diego Ortiz. Jose Miguel Moncada is 11, 0.3 behind Andres Camilo Cardona. Carlos Huertas in Castrol edges 7th on softs, 0.7 behind Diego Ortiz. Jose Miguel Moncada in Remus is P11, 1.5 behind Andres Camilo Cardona. From Colombia is 6th on mediums, 1.3 behind Juan Barbosa. Carlos Huertas is P7, 1.2 behind Diego Ortiz. Diego Ortiz on lap 9 is P6, 1.4 behind Juan Barbosa. Alejandro Arango from Colombia in Rock on lap 8 is P13 on mediums. Carlos Huertas on lap 9 is P9, 0.6 behind Ricardo Pineda. Ricardo Pineda was 0.8 faster last lap. Carlos Huertas is now P11. Carlos Huertas is now P10. Ricardo Pineda is 12. Carlos Huertas is 11th, 1.2 behind Daniel Quintero. Daniel Quintero was 17.5 faster last lap. Ricardo Pineda entering the pits is P12. Ricardo Pineda is 12. Jose Miguel Moncada from Colombia is 9, 3.0 behind Andres Camilo Cardona. Carlos Huertas in Worth is P11, 1.4 behind Daniel Quintero. Juan Barbosa from Colombia is 5th on mediums, 2.1 ahead of Diego Ortiz. Ricardo Pineda exiting pits on softs. Is 12, 2.6 ahead of Ricardo Pineda. Carlos Huertas in Pirelli is 11th, 1.4 behind Daniel Quintero. Alejandro Arango is 12th. Best lap is a 1:32.707, 2.370 off the fastest lap. Juan Pablo Aristizabal is P7 on mediums, 1.0 behind Diego Ortiz. Carlos Huertas is 11th. Best lap is a 1:33.192, 2.855 off the fastest lap. Yanli entering the pits is 15th. Diego Ortiz is 6th, 0.6 behind Juan Barbosa. Christian Gomez is P2, 1.3 behind Jean-Pierre Ferrand. Juan Barbosa in Rock is 6th, 0.4 behind Diego Ortiz. Juan Barbosa passed Diego Ortiz for 5th. Carlos Huertas in rock is 11th on softs, 0.5 behind Daniel Quintero. Juan Pablo Aristizabal in rink is 7th on mediums, 0.5 behind Diego Ortiz. Alejandro Arango in Red Bull Mobile is P12. Just finished the race. Jean-Pierre Perrin from Colombia finished first. Christian Gomez finished P2. J.Enriquez finished P3. Santiago Ibarraga finished 4th. Juan Barbosa finished 5th. Juan Pablo Aristizabal finished 6th. Diego Ortiz finished P7. Andres Camilo Cardona finished 8th. Jose Miguel Moncada finished P9. Daniel Quintero finished P10. Alejandro Arango finished P12. Carlos Huertas finished P11. Ricardo Pineda finished P13. Alex Borsa from Colombia finished P14. race session is at Red Bull Ring Grand Prix Circuit in Spielberg, Austria. The wind speed is 6 km/h from the east. Race start. Director entering the pits is P17. Alejandro Arango from Colombia is P3 on mediums. Daniel Quintero and Castral Hedges P4 on softs. Jose Miguel Moncada from Colombia is 4th on softs. Ricardo Pineda from Colombia in Remus is P11 on mediums. Cristian Gomez from Colombia is P3 on softs. Cristian Gomez passed Alejandro Arango for 2nd. Alejandro Arango in work is 3rd. Jose Miguel Moncada in red is P4. Juan Barbosa from Colombia is P5 on mediums. Juan Pablo Aristizabal entering the pits is 13. Diego Ortiz entering the pits is 14th. Juan Barbosa is now 4th. Jean-Pierre Perrin is P5. Jean-Pierre Perrin is now P4. Juan Barbosa is 7th. Juan Barbosa lost 11th to J.Enriquez. Andres Camilo Cardona from Colombia is 8th on softs, 0.2 behind Jose Miguel Moncada. J.Enriquez from Colombia is 11th on mediums, 0.5 behind Yanley. Juan Pablo Aristizabal exiting pits on softs. Andres Camilo Cardona on lap 2 is 8th, 0.2 behind Jose Miguel Moncada. Andres Camilo Cardona passed Jose Miguel Moncada from P7. Jose Miguel Moncada from Colombia in Red Bull Mobile is 8th, 0.3 ahead of Santiago Vidal-Roca. Santiago Vidal-Roca from Spain in Castrol edges P9 on mediums, 0.3 behind Jose Miguel Moncada. J.Enriquez in Remus is P11, 0.5 behind Yanley. Diego Ortiz exiting pits on mediums. Yanley from China in Rock is 11th on mediums, 0.1 behind J.Enriquez. Santiago Vidal-Roca in Pirelli is 9th, 0.5 behind Jose Miguel Moncada. Jean-Pierre Perrin from Colombia in Rent is P4 on softs, 0.4 behind Alejandro Arango. Andres Camilo Cardona is P7, 0.4 behind Daniel Quintero. Juan Carlos Courin from Colombia is P4 on mediums battling Alejandro Arango. Alejandro Arango is 5th, 0.3 behind Juan Carlos Courin. Andres Camilo Cardona in Rock is P7 on softs, 0.1 behind Daniel Quintero. Santiago Vidal-Roca in Pirelli is P9. The best lap is a 1:33.723, 2.178 off the fastest lap. Juan Pablo Aristizabal entering the pits is 14th. Daniel Quintero is 7th, 0.2 behind Andres Camilo Cardona. Andres Camilo Cardona was 1.3 faster last lap. Juan Pablo Aristizabal exiting pits on softs. Santiago Vidal-Roca is P10. Santiago Vidal-Roca lost P10 to Yanley. J.Enriquez in Castrol edges 9, 0.5 behind Jose Miguel Moncada. is 9th battling J.Enriquez. Juan Carlos Guerin on lap 5 is 4th, 0.4 behind Carlos Huertas. Juan Carlos Guerin passed Carlos Huertas for P3. Yanli is 11th, 0.1 behind Santiago Idarraga. Juan Carlos Guerin in Red Bull Mobile is 3rd, 0.5 behind Jean-Pierre Perrin. Jose Miguel Moncada on lap 6 is P9, 0.5 behind J.Enriquez. Juan Carlos Guerin from Colombia is P3, 0.5 behind Jean-Pierre Perrin. Juan Carlos Guerin was 0.7 faster last lap. Jose Miguel Moncada is P9. Best lap is a 1:33.467. 2.562 off the fastest lap. Santiago Idarraga is P10. Best lap is a 1:32.654. 1.749 off the fastest lap. Jose Miguel Moncada on lap 6 is P10 battling Santiago Idarraga. Barbosa is P12, 0.7 behind Yanli. Juan Pablo Aristizabal from Colombia in Pirelli is P14 on softs battling Jose Miguel Moncada. Juan Barbosa in worth is 12, 0.5 behind Yanli. Juan Carlos Guerin is P3, 0.8 behind Jean-Pierre Perrin. Juan Barbosa is 12, 0.3 behind Yanli. J.Enriquez is P7, 0.8 behind Andres Camilo Cardona. Juan Barbosa in Pirelli is P12, 0.4 behind Yanli. Carlos Huertas from Colombia is fourth on softs, 0.5 behind Juan Carlos Guarin. Carlos Huertas was 1.8 faster last lap. Alejandro Arango in Castrol edges P5. Best lap is a 1:33.225. 2.439 off the fastest lap. Alejandro Arango passed Carlos Huertas for fourth. Andres Camilo Cardona is sixth, 0.3 behind Carlos Huertas. J.Enriquez is 7th, 0.6 behind Andres Camilo Cardona. Carlos Huertas is P5, 0.5 ahead of Andres Camilo Cardona. Andres Camilo Cardona in Red Bull Mobile is 6th, 0.4 behind Carlos Huertas. Yanli in Red Bull Mobile is 12th, 0.1 behind Juan Barbosa. Yanli lost P12 to Ricardo Pineda. Carlos Huertas on lap 10 is P5, 0.2 ahead of J.Enriquez. Carlos Huertas is now fourth. J.Enriquez on lap 10 is fifth, 0.1 behind Carlos Huertas. J.Enriquez passed Carlos Huertas for P4. Andres Camilo Cardona is 6th, 0.2 behind Carlos Huertas. Santiago Rocket in Worth is P7, 0.5 behind Andres Camilo Cardona. Now 6th. Yanli is P13, 0.5 behind Ricardo Pineda. Ricardo Pineda was 7.9 faster last lap. Yanli is now P12. Andres Camilo Cardona in Castrol edges 6th, 0.1 behind Santiago Rocket. Quintero is 8th. Best lap is a 1:33.217. 2.506 off the fastest lap. Jose Miguel Moncada in Rock is P7. Best lap is a 1:33.459. 2.748 off the fastest lap. Daniel Quintero is 8th, 0.9 behind Jose Miguel Moncada. Jose Miguel Moncada is 7th, 0.8 ahead of Daniel Quintero. Daniel Quintero is P8, 1.0 behind Jose Miguel Moncada. From Spain is P5, 1.1 behind Carlos Huertas. Carlos Huertas was 1.2 faster last lap. Ricardo Pineda from Colombia in ring is P11, 0.5 behind Juan Barbosa. Yanli in Red Bull Mobile is P12. Juan Barbosa from Colombia is P11, 0.1 behind Ricardo Pineda. Ricardo Pineda is 11th battling Juan Barbosa. Ricardo Pineda passed Juan Barbosa for P10. Juan Barbosa is 11th, 0.4 behind Ricardo Pineda. Daniel Quintero is 8th, 1.4 behind Jose Miguel Moncada. Juan Barbosa is P11 on mediums, 0.5 behind Ricardo Pineda. Finished first. Diego Ortiz from Colombia finished P14. Jean-Pierre Perrin finished P2. Juan Pablo Aristizabal finished 12th. J.Enriquez finished 3rd. Carlos Huertas finished P4. Santiago Ibarraga finished P5. Andres Camilo Cardona finished P6. Jose Miguel Moncada finished P7. Daniel Quintero finished 8th. Alejandro Arango finished P9. Ricardo Pineda finished 10th. Juan Barbosa finished P11.